Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. So on today's menu is my 1931 Model A that's been modified. So here's what we got here. I got my hood, which may go on here, or I may have another one. But man, you gotta say, that's in pretty damn good shape for a 31. The only problem is they shortened it up, which I ain't got a problem with, because that may work in my favor for what this guy is going to go on. So you can see the frame structure in here. Somebody was meaning serious business. Now, don't get this here, out here confused. Okay, you might see that over there in that corner. But it starts right here, comes all the way across, and then just that bar back there. Okay, and then there's nothing in between there. So I could put a fuel cell right there. Then it comes down here for the transmission and the drive shaft. And it looks to be caged. So I know it's hard to tell with all this side mold stripping or whatever it is. Whatever you want to call it. Molding, whatever. Okay, so would have been cool with a functioning sunroof, but when they welded this thing, they melted the worm gear. So the motor works, but it can't crank to get this to come open. So you can see right up here, it's partially closed. It's not closed up all the way, so water gets down in there, drains and drips down into here, so causing a lot of moisture and rust damage. You can see all that rust in there. Boy, I got a lot of work. On top of the fact, you can see back in there they put a trunk lid. Okay, so we're going to come out of here and we're going to go up under here so you can see. Okay, so you can see there's a trunk lid. Okay, not entirely too bad. I wouldn't totally disagree with this method, but it's not functional. It wasn't intended to pick up and set down, but I am going to make it functional. So I'm going to set my fuel cell right back here, and I'm going to make a functioning trunk lid. So if I gotta do anything above the axle, so I don't have to crawl underneath, I can mess with the suspension over in here. This is the other half of the hood. So I can take the fuel cell out, then I can crank and work on the full suspension without having to remove the wheels and jacking the car up. I can just do everything straight up from up top. So you can see the booger job that they did. God. Okay, so you can see, actually, let me get in closer. There you go. Now you can really see it. See the slop, boogers, then dent. This is where they cut the support frame inside the trunk lid. And they went from here, they were on a good start. But then they showed it down here. Down here. So I'm going to try to clean that area up, shorten up the fatness of this wheel well, or it may play in my favor because I'm going to put my extended wheel wells. They put in roughly 2.5 to 3 inches. And I just realized you can see a little hole right here. So they plugged everything. So when I go to mock up my wheel wells, fenders, running board, that's when I'm going to play around with this. But if you look over there on that side, you can see how it comes right off the back here, and then they cut the support, and then this, I don't know what they were thinking. This right here appears to be original from something. But So we got multi-layer here. We didn't do the butt weld, is what I'm looking at. So we got this first layer. Then you got this second layer, which looks like the original piece that goes here. It's supposed to be here, but it's not lined up. It overlaps this. So they brought this in too close. We got it perfect here, all the way down. I like that. So that gives me a good blueprint to base it off of. So once you get this lined up, then you can get this lined up, and then you can come back here and work on this to line this up. Because this whole entire pillar needs to go back. So I need to separate the ugly from here. Maybe shorten this up. Shorten up this area back here. And slide this back. The whole entire thing, slide it back. So that's one area. It seems like I'm really close in here. Yeah, well, can't control that. And so, well, not only you got this layer under this layer, but then you got this layer on top of this layer, which then goes over top of this layer. So it's been sandwiched together. This looks like the original piece right here that went above this. So if I was to do a butt weld right here, that will flatten this layer down to this layer and make it one piece. It's hard to say what to do up there. Not until you get the torches and the cutting and all that, but you can see, man. All right, cool. So this right here, I can see from the other side. So this right here drops down to here. So it has the original meat from here down to about here. So if I do the plug, a butt weld, I could possibly, that's only if this body line is also on this piece. Because then that can take the place of this. But if not, then I'm going to butt weld this. So this comes back out to here. And then it'll blend into this. That will clean this up. And then I'll just grind here to redefine that line. Don't know what about this. I don't know what to do here. But I'm going to try to replicate it so it continues this and then fades off into here. So this line will continue out here and come off to a point, come back in, and then this will blend in with this so it all looks original. Don't know exactly what they were coming to, but boy, major work. Okay, so I think I'm digging the steering wheel and the column. I think I'm going to stick with that. The original dashboard. For looks, I'm going to keep the original fuel gauge, but I'm going to fill it up with fluid and plug it off so it looks like there's fuel in there. I'll leave it about 3/4 full so you can see it splash around. I'll put an LED light in there for backing so it shows it through there so it'll look kind of cool. I'll keep all the dash original. The gas tank, unfortunately, is crusty rusty. It had stuff living in it, so it had access somewhere along the line. There must be a hole in that tank. Something crawled up in there and made a nest. So I got the wonderful pleasures of now gives me room to mount my battery in the middle, my fuse panel, so I can get to my fuses inside there. I'm going to turn this gas tank, hinge it to where you can't see it with a set of piano hinges. I'll make this tank to where you can lift it up. And then you can get direct access. Once this is down, I can pin it and lock it on both sides. So I just pull the pin, reach out here, pull this guy open. And then I can get access to my battery, my fuse panel, which will be on the other side. And then my brake booster, actually not booster, but my master cylinder. I'll mount it up in here and then run my brake lines out the front. And actually, I'm going to run my brake line straight off of it, down to the frame, straight out to the front wheels, and then shoot it back this way with the brake diverter distribution and run them to the back brakes. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's get a little overall look at it so you can see it. So there you go. There's my Model A. Love it. It's on my front trailer at the moment. It's going to be my test bed. So I'm going to remove this fencing off of the outside perimeter. I'm going to take it all off in one piece, because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my fenders so I can set them up on here. This will be my work table for the body, so I can do the body work on it. These dang on laying on bugs. I'd rather the stink bugs than those dang on things. They kill and juice up everything. Okay, so we got a basic idea on that. So this will be my work table for the body work. Once she is completed, I then can bring it out here and do the mock-up and get my body mounted to the frame. Because I know it's almost to the same width as these body mounts right here. That's what I'm hoping for, to tag these 4 body mounts. Maybe one for the center, so that would help keep that body sturdy. And then for my fenders, I'll show you that on the other side. So far from this body mount, pardon the mess, it's been a while since I messed with this thing, all the way to this body mount, looks to be going to be a perfect fit for that. The gas tank may need to come out of there, and I think the fuel tank's crusty rusty anyway, so I don't know what's lurking inside there yet. Won't know that until I pull the fuel pump. She will be operated by a modern fuel pump. And so, well, I was playing with the fenders here, and I had to make some room, so I had to move it. It would help to turn it the right way. And boy, these things are heavy. Okay, so these are the original fenders to a 31 Model A. So let's get this plastic out of the way. I need to redo this anyway. Hold on, I'll be right back. And I tell you, a hell of a difference. No emissions control. Power steering, all that is out. The power steering will go back in. There's going to be another bracket made for it, so it's out of the way of the actual steering. And so water pump needs to be replaced. The threaded hole for this is broke, and I don't trust the water pump anyway. This way it gives me a chance to clean the whole front of the motor. Done. But we got a nice chrome alternator to go on it. So see, and they're nice and good. And so what I done is I went through and removed all this. Screw that emissions control jet. Okay? It's nothing but junk. That stuff right there takes your gas fumes from your exhaust and pumps it back down in the throat of the carburetor through the intake. Causes excessive carbon buildup. So what you do is you take it all off, EGR included. Do away with the wire harness. Go with the older style wire harness, just like the 351 Windsor. Okay? You can buy an aftermarket, and it'll do away with that. But it looks like I may need the computer from an 87 to control the transmission. But I think I'm just going to do away with that trans, because I hate the hydromatic transmission anyway. So I'll give me something to point with so y'all can see what I'm talking about here. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm feeling it today. Yeah. Don't want to sound like a broken record. You don't know what it's about, go watch my other videos. Okay, so this down there, this right here, the one on the other side, and the rest that look like that. That right there is Chevy bolt pattern, okay, for the transmission. That's what makes this transmission kind of special and unique, even though I hate it. It's a multi-application transmission. You can go Buick, Pontiac, or old, so that's why it's called BOP. Take notice, there's no bolts in that one. There's no bolts in that one. That's your Pontiac. Then you got one here that's old, or GM, Chevy, whatever. So I could take that off. I'm going to put a turbo 350 trans. Smash that on there. I never had problems with those transmissions. So we're going to do away with the O2 sensors. I'm just going to take it off, and I'm going to put plumbing plug in it. Same thing with these little nubby fuckers here. I'm going to take all of them off and plug them with some brass plumbing plugs. And geez, it's hot out here. Okay, so I got mix matching valve covers, one chrome, one original, so they'll get replaced. When I go to replace them, then I'm going to look down inside here. We got questioning of what's going on in there because of that hole was left open. And so we're going to go with the AGI distributor. We're knocking that out of there. We're going to go with a 4-barrel 650 Holly, bolted from Ford to Chevy. So we've got the bolt pattern of Ford on the carburetor, and then we're going to go down to a Chevy adapter plate. This way, I don't have to buy me another one. I already got it. It bolts up. It's all on the same side. This is the way it's supposed to be. Chokes on the left and cables on the right. So that's going to work. We're doing away with the air cleaner, so we're going to get rid of that junk. We're going to use the headers because of how tight I need the exhaust to be towards the motor so it can complete its way down the frame. So we're going to keep those. But we're going to plug those headers, and we're going to get rid of something else here too. We're just going to pin it open. This little flap right here, okay? So it'll flap open and shut, flap open and shut. Taking that off. Don't need it. So when I drop that pipe off of there, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to cut the metal flap off of there. But you can see how much nicer it looks without all that And look at all that additional weight too. I mean, Jesus. Wonder why that front weighs a lot. Besides the four-wheel drive. Four-wheel drive is not going to be in there. That's coming out. So the AC, that's pointless. Can't use it. I'm not cluttering up the engine bay because for a Model A Ford, that's just like with this T-bucket. It's open motor. People are going to see it, and that's the first thing they see. And all of that's going to make it look like junk. Them tubes, junk. I don't need them. I don't care. I'll cut them off. Same thing with that. The fuel pump manual is coming off. Smoke control pump, nothing but junk. That just pumps dirty air back into your engine. It's overcarbonized and they don't run right. So I got a HEI distributor. Want to go down in there. I need a thermostat housing. Need a fuel water pump. Want to change the thermostat, of course. I vacuumed out everything on top of the motor. Want to clean it and clean the front, the bottom, the sides of the motor. And then, so once I get a turbo 350 trans for this, then I'll be able to pull this motor, put it on a stand, degrease the crap out of it, clean it off real good, and I'm going to give it a nice coat of Ford color, even though it's Chevy. I don't care. I'm not all about that stupid, you know, blah, 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 Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Ford, Chevy, Honda, blah, blah, blah. Okay? It's not a rat rod, and that's what I'm, you know, that's the way it is. Okay? And she's going to need a new throttle cable. Throttle cable's junk. So I'm going to replace that. And I need to sit down again. And so, but you can see the motor mount better on this side. You can see right in there. I had to take the mechanical fuel pump off because it was in the way of the frame. And that's part of the motor mount, so I'm not modifying that. I don't want to turn this into a 6-year project. I want to get this thing on the road. I want to get it going. So right now at this point, I could pick that motor up, set the engine in, put the bolts in, she'll be mounted. And then I can start the process of the power steering. That I will have. Because the way this is designed, I'm not reinventing this whole frickin' thing. I'm fine with the way the steering is. I'm not going to modify it and go outside the box. However, I am going to take off the, take those shabs off. I'm going to hollow out the transaxles. So they'll just be poking through and they'll just sit there. And then I'll take that whole four-wheel drive out. Maybe, I don't know, sell it. Get some money to bring back to put back into this. To get the stuff that I do need. And so, I think at that point, maybe it'd be a good idea to get the new seals for this guy. I mean, in order to make that effective, you got to pump the crap out of it. And then it leaks down on you. All the fluid comes out of the cylinder. One day, it ain't going to be too pretty. That thing's going to come slamming down, and it's going to be at a point when I'm doing something like this and I need to get my hands in there. So rather than that, I'm going to get that resolved. So I'm going to have to reassemble some of these brackets so I have a spot to be able to, actually, I should be fine. I'll grab the alternator bracket just like I did before. I'll hook it to that. Backside's already hooked. I'll get this motor up and get it set down in here so there's no risk of that motor slapping around, falling and banging. And then I can take my measurements and see what I need to do as far as getting an aftermarket bracket, whatever. Just like I did the T-bucket, got an aftermarket bracket for it to be able to fit. So this way I can see the mock-up process of the engine, how it's going to be. And so far I'm liking the way it's going. And I'm going to redo my whole protection plan with the top half of this motor in that plastic. I think it might consist of some of this sheet metal and just lay it over top, and then I'm going to ratchet strap it down so water can't get inside that motor, but because there's holes already screwed into that sheet metal, I'm just going to have to take that plastic and triple it up. Or, I know what I can do. I can take that hood right there, that hood. I'll set it on top of there for now. That's what I'll do. And I'll still put plastic across it, just to guarantee it. The hood shifts. We got animals up here that like to get into stuff. So they may get on it, knock the hood over, and then I'm not knowing it. And water just got all up inside the motor. So I don't know if you saw it in hyperspeed, but I was showing you the dipsticks. Showing you the oil. And it shows you the transmission. Transmission is completely empty, which I can care less about. Transmission, I'll sell it off to somebody that can appreciate it. I don't like it. I've had too many problems with them. Man, 4 of them I stuck in the car. You get to a point of how many times you want to keep doing this. I'll put a 350 turbo trans in it. Bam, not a problem. That damn thing, I drove the piss out of that thing. I beat the shit out of it, man. I floored that damn thing, would not hesitate. Never had an issue. I got the vacuum spot up there on the intake for it, which I'm deleting the brake booster, which I ain't going to need. So I'll utilize that port for the transmission, for the turbo. I got another set of wires that are going to go on here. And I think I'm going with the black, the red, the silver, and chrome color scheme. I think that's going to look good on here. So instead of the red block, I'll go black block. Nothing too shiny. I'll say silk would be just fine. I'm not overdoing it with the red and this and that. Just your common old school look. Like the silver water pump, the silver aluminum intake, the heads, they'll be done silver, but the block will be black. That'll hide most of any of the imperfections, and and I'll put a chrome block off plate for the fuel pump, and everything else will be blacked out. Chrome valve covers. Keep the carburetor the way it is. You try to paint on that, and that dang old thing will just, gas will tear it off. So yeah. I may do a heater core with this. I may have the room for it. If I do, I'll do it. And then I'll just put a fan behind a small, I'll probably use a oil cooler. So that way you can go through it, have a fan behind it to project it. I don't need no air vents. Just need it to get into the cab. That way if there's a little bit of winter time driving, no snow, I can actually take this out on a cold day. So that's why those hoses are still on there. And so that's what I'm going for. She's not going to be souped up. It's not going to be a fast engine. She's going to be plenty fast enough as it is. But I will be more interested in going with the dual exhaust, true dual exhaust, which looks like I should be able to do. So it looks like I can get them both to come right on through there. We'll see if I can get a better view. Right now the motor's sitting over here towards this way a little too far because it's propped up on that side. So I'll be able to get right in where the torsion bars are, those will stay. So I'm going to have the exhaust come down into, you know, one top, just like it does right here. I have to cut and notch it out. I'll probably just cut that bracket, flip it upside down, and weld it back in so it looks like this one over here on this side. And then I can fit my exhaust right in on top. I'll get rid of the cat converters, run my 2 flow masters before the axle, then the pipes come out on the sides, or I may bring them right to there and then just bring it out to the side and back with side pipes. Haven't decided yet. Haven't got that far. I've been working on a lot of other stuff so in the background, so this is where we're at with this. So now I feel a little better that we're getting a little further ahead here. And so the steering doesn't look like it's going to be an issue, because right here's my headers. Here's the steering. I think I might have seen something, I'm not sure. Let me get this motor picked up and slid back in its place before it gets any hotter. And then we're going to see where it puts that header with the steering. Because I may have just done all this for nothing. I didn't think about that. Well, actually not for nothing. It needed to be out of the way so I could see everything. Alright, so hang tight, I'll be right back. Alright, so we got that mounted in. Right there, we got a bolt in it. But we're missing it over here by 1/4 inch. So, I'm thinking if I just fatten it up a little bit with some, I don't know, 3/16 flat plate. Take the mount off the frame. Put a flat piece of steel there. Put a flat piece of steel there. Set the motor back down. And it should be able to bolt right up. So this came out of the 87. I'm going to say because of the BOP rear, the motor transmission, I'm going to say this probably came out of a Pontiac or an Olds. If it was Monte Carlo, it would not have the BOP. It would have the Turbo 350, or I think it was Classic. They had the 200 R4 transmission with the GM bolt pattern. This is what made the difference between a profit and non-profiting market. If you're a car maker, you would want the fastest multi-platform vehicle as you can make, so you could speed down the production line. All the money it takes to make the castings and the molds and all that for a particular type of engine versus transmission, brackets. This way it simplified things. Most of these brackets that I'm taking off and this emissions control stuff I'm taking off is spread widely across their 87 model vehicles, such as the 87 IROC Z28 had the 2-port fuel injection, still had the same brackets, the same emissions control, the same smoke control pump, the same brackets and all that, same water pump. So that's why everything is so universal, so easy to just pick off a shelf and throw it on. So the thing that I was worried about, looks like it's nothing to worry about. The only thing I need to do is get a different type of bracket for the power steering, which is what I'm going to keep. And I could get a smaller fuel pump, because I really don't need a buttload of gas going through this thing. Just enough to power a 305, get it down the road. Now, of course, with a little bit of cool sound, cosmetic sound. She's going to be great. So yeah, I think if I mount me some flat steel underneath the motor mounts on the frame on both sides, that would then pull those two motor mounts tighter, as I was describing. As the more you stack it up, less room you're going to have in between the block and the motor mounts. So that's what I have to do here. That way I don't have to modify anything. It's just make it thicker. That's all I'm doing. And then I will put the pinch that I need, and the motor will sit right down on there. So this motor came from an 87 Pontiac or Olds. Not sure of the Pontiac that this possibly would have gone into, but the Olds, I would say, had the same square type kind of body as the Monte Carlo, the Grand Prix. Had the almost same body style, 87. The Buick, the Grand National, the V8 version of the Buick. This motor would fit it. So this frame is the GMC S15, not the S10, which looks like the Blazer. And so that's how close this is of being able to fit down in there, is by that much. I mean, literally that much. So if I took two plates, one underneath of that, one over there, that'll pinch it. Then I can drop it in and pin my bolts. Then she'll go in. So it means the motor's got to come back out to do that. The next thing would be is to remove the four-wheel drive setup. I don't think I'm down for the four-wheel drive. There's more complicated things with that when dealing with this. I don't want to deal with it. I really don't. I don't want this front end being that heavy. And so it'll be far less movable parts that I have to worry about. And well, so that be the way it is. So that's what I'm going to do. She's coming out of there. And there should be, I think there's a little trick of separating that cup from the transaxle knuckles. If you get it pushed in a certain way and put it in the angle, it should just pop right out of socket, like dislocating a shoulder. So I'm not sure. I've done it once before. I can't remember how I did it, so I'm going to play with it when it gets to that point, because I don't want to pull these wheels off to do it. That side I'll have to take off because one of the lug bolts got pushed in when I put that wheel on there. But yeah, that's cool. It's coming along. So I guess while I have the motor out, get it off to the side and scrub it, degrease it, clean it, paint it. All the freeze plugs look great on this thing. And then I'll put it back together. Just making sure I turned that other camera off. There we go. So yeah, she cleaned up real nice. And so, well, you can see all the juice leaking out of that thing. So that's not really good to trust. And so, well, I'm done for today. I'm just going to further secure this block so she don't go nowhere. Though I got it pinned on that one side. These come out of there. This motor's just going to on its side. That's why I got it hog tied. But I want to get this chain off of here, and I'll just get the tension off of that so it's not constantly juicing everywhere. I don't want to have the fluid to put it back in it. So when that happens, water gets down in there and then it just turns the juice. And well, then you got to pump it up real fast just to get it to come up. And then to maintain it to stay up, you got to pump it up higher than what you want it to. But that's what happens when you can't afford to buy nothing. So the original thing we were going to look at is clearance for the steering. So it means this has got to come up. I think that's not going to be a problem. Right there's my steering. Get that O2 sensor out of there, and I think she'll pass right on through there. I think it'll be fine. I may have to extend the shaft. That steering column is not what I'm going to use. I don't want my Ford saying GMC. So, but yeah, that's where we're at with that. The next best thing is I am going to have to make a transmission mount. Put it right across here so I can lock that tail of the transmission. And with that